Good evening, and welcome to the school board meeting of Tuesday, June 10th, 2008. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Alan, do we have some adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, we do. We had one from Trish. Do you want to just tell her what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I'd just like to add under recognition the students who participated in the community services luncheon.
Why don't we just put that at the beginning, before 6A? Is that because it covers all the schools, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And the only other ones that I have is under new business, under 9D. That's where we'll talk about the curriculum management plan. But if you remember correctly, when they did that presentation at the workshop, they also presented the English language arts, and so that's also a piece that should be there. And I'll have some people who, if you have any questions, can answer that. And I will, the only other thing that I will tell you, because there's been so many staff changes recently, I will have some more resignations and some more hires tonight, other than what was in your packet. But I'll pass those out as when we get there.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Is there a motion for the approval of the May 13th, 2008 school board minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Second. Okay, sorry, I heard it, but I didn't see it, Linda. Thank you. Discussions, arrows, omissions? No? Okay, all in favor? 5-0. Comments by student reps. Steve? We have Piper and Michaela?
Hi. Monday, June 16th is the middle school community field day for grades 5 through 8, and the rain date will be Tuesday. Wednesday, June 18th is the middle school step-up day, and it's at the end of the day during periods 5 and 6. The middle school beach day is June 19th, and the 5th grade will be going to Crescent, the 6th and 7th grade will be going to Scarborough, and the 8th grade is going to Old Orchard Beach. Donations for the Mr. Earl Scholarship Fund should be made out to the Cape Elizabeth Middle School, and the checks will be collected at the middle school between now and September 1st. The MSPA will be matching the funds, and there will be more information about the Mr. Earl Scholarship Fund in the Cape Courier. Okay. Sports team's last game were Thursday. The 17th is 8th grade recognition night. Report cards will go home on paper. They will not be done electronically. And the summer reading list is on the middle school library website.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions?
So the report cards will be on paper, not electronic?
Yes, the final report card is sent out on paper.
Oh, okay.
Gotta have something.
When you scrap.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you very much, ladies. We don't have our high school representatives here because they graduated, so we'll be looking forward to next year's high school representatives. Comments from the public on non-agenda items? I don't see any. Okay, communications. Introduction of Jeff Thorek as incoming athletic administrator and Janet Hoskin as incoming community service director. Alan?
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome them both. We voted on them you voted on them at the last meeting, the workshop meeting, but didn't get a chance to talk with them. I'm offered, just if you want to say a few brief words, you do not have to do a major introduction, but it's for you if you'd like to say something. And then Janet, if you'd like to say something after him.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hawkins, for this opportunity, and to the school board. I'm just thrilled to get things started here. I've been counting down since the official contract was signed, so really excited about getting things underway and working in such a great community, one that obviously has a special place in my heart growing up here, and having that opportunity to give back and work in this community is just something that has been a lifelong dream of mine, and really looking forward to getting things going. It's such a thrill for me to work in a community that just, thrives on academic excellence, the tradition in their athletic programs, and the support from the community is just outstanding. So, really looking forward to getting things going.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
welcome.
Jeff. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure this will be the first of many surprises that I will receive.
Any questions?
No, this was coming. I am thrilled for the future. I look forward to what the challenges that are ahead, and certainly community services is a huge department and a lot of important decisions to be made, but the staff that is in place there is an exceptional staff, and I know that with their support we will go forward in the future, and I look forward to all the challenges ahead. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Welcome.
We know you can write a speech now in very quick notice. So that's very good.
Thank you. Notification of resignations and retirements,
Yes.
Alan?
I have several this evening. I have some that are in your folder and some that I will give to you. I have a couple where people have asked me to read them, and so if you will bear with me, I'll take you through two of them. One is from the high school. It is said, "It is with great regret and anticipation that I submit this letter of resignation, effective the end of the 2007-2008 school year. I've accepted a position with West Hartford, Connecticut Public Schools, an opportunity to further my current career goals and achieve growth within the new school district. It has been my genuine pleasure to work for Cape Elizabeth High School during these last 5 years. I've enjoyed working with Cape Elizabeth High School's fine staff of professionals and colleagues, and will miss my association here. I wish you and the Cape Elizabeth School District continued success on all your endeavors. The positive reputation of Cape Elizabeth Schools is what attracted me to apply for a teaching position at Cape Elizabeth High School. I took a cut in my salary coming to work for Cape Elizabeth Schools, but I was assured that the district was committed to retaining quality teachers and that the quality of my teaching experience would make up for it. In many ways, it has been the most rewarding and challenging experience. As I look forward to the many opportunities ahead, I cannot help but feel saddened by the deepening concerns I am leaving behind. The hope that was outlined in the comprehensive plan has not come to fruition. In my career at Cape Elizabeth High School, I funded and completed a master's program in education and a certificate of advanced graduate studies in school leadership. I've dedicated my life to studying best practices in education both in my classroom and in my coursework. It pains me to see the utmost potential of Cape Elizabeth Schools. Increased federal, state, and local mandates combined with budget caps, higher costs for technology, and increased special population have drained our schools of the resources to do our work effectively. Educational research acknowledges that successful programs must be adequately funded and supported. You have an amazing faculty who want to do everything they can to maximize the potential of the children in this community. I urge you to do everything you can to retain quality teachers and provide them with the resources they need to do their jobs well. And that's signed by Carrie Ann Apanovich. The second letter I have for you is one that just came very recently, but I think you have it in your packets. This is from Cheryl Higgins, who is a teacher at the middle school. She writes, "After 14 marvelous years as a teacher in Cape Elizabeth, I have decided it's time for me to change directions. I have thoroughly enjoyed my experience as an educator and have developed an even stronger passion for both the students and the subjects I teach than I had when I was hired in 1994. As a professional working with the unique community of Cape Elizabeth, I have had incredible opportunities to meet amazing people, from staff and parents to community members. Most of all, I have treasured the young people with whom I have interacted. I will miss them tremendously. Being a lifelong learner has been a goal of mine for many years, and as I have uncovered new topics and interests with my students, I have at the same time kindled my own desire to expand my personal and professional horizons. With this in mind, I have come to the conclusion that it is time for me to move in new directions. I thank you and the Cape Elizabeth community for many satisfying years within the school system." Again, signed by Cheryl Higgins. My third one is from Peggy Fogg, Community Center. I am writing this letter to officially announce my resignation and retirement from the Cape Elizabeth Community Community Services. My resignation as Director of the Extended Day Program will be effective at the end of the 07-08 school year. My 25 years as Director of the Extended Day Program has been a wonderful and rewarding experience. I'm grateful for my additional education, knowledge, and friendships. I have loved generations of children and the rewards of their growth, from babies to successful adults. If you need my assistance at any time during this transition, I'll be happy to oblige. Hopefully, you will still need workers in the fall, and I would be considered as a candidate for 3 days a week. I will look back very happily at many years and many wonderful memories. The next one I have for you, I don't think you have in your packet, and this one is from Holly Smeevog, and I will pass it out to you as soon as I take all the stickies off from it. Holly is the technology representative, technology integrator at the middle school. This resignation just came in yesterday. In her letter to Steve and Gary, she writes, "It is with mixed feelings that I submit this resignation letter for my position as technology integrator for the middle school. On the one hand, I'm excited the opportunity my family is being given due to my husband's overseas assignment in the Netherlands. On the other hand, I see my work at the middle school is just hitting a good stride and is having a lot of growth potential. Hope that our school district's vision for technology integration and innovation gains even more support over the next few years. It's my hope that I'll gain employment overseas that will further my skill base and that I may return in a similar capacity within the Cape Elizabeth School Department. My anticipated return date is August of 2010. Thank you for giving me this amazing opportunity to start up this position of technology integrator." And then I have another one. And again, this was received yesterday. This is addressed to Jeff Shedd. "This past year, Cape Elizabeth High School has been an amazing experience for me as a new teacher. I have learned a great deal from my colleagues as well as students. I have thoroughly enjoyed working in the music program that is supported by the administration, and I am very pleased with what I have accomplished in the short amount of time I have been a part of this school system. Unfortunately, at this time I am unable to stay in a part-time position and am submitting my resignation with regret. Per our conversation, I will fulfill my obligations for the remainder of the school year. I would like to express my appreciation for the opportunity to teach at such a fine school. I hope to be able to use the skills and knowledge I have gained at Cape Elizabeth to continue my career as a teacher in the future." And this is from Daryl Whidden, Jr., who is the first-year choral teacher.
Oh, choral teacher.
Yes. And I believe those are all that I have at this point in time,
As of this evening.
as of this evening,
Okay,
as of this moment.
great. Alan, budget update?
Yes. I think you're all aware that today is the voting day. I understand from several people I've talked to, it has been fairly heavy crowds at the high school as far as voting is concerned. I did want to let you know that I have done some research. As a matter of fact, Rebecca and Kathy were with me yesterday when we talked with our lawyers, just to be sure we knew what the next steps were in the process. As you know, if it's a yes vote, then we will have a 4.6 budget, and that will be from where we move ahead. If it is a no vote, as you know, the ballot has two sections on it. One is for a yes or no vote about the 4.6 budget. The other part is about whether you feel the budget request is too high or too low. In many cases across the state, that has only been a response if you voted no. But in Cape Elizabeth, you can give that same response if you voted yes. Now, what happens is these ballots will go through a machine. We will get the results of yes or no vote. We'll get the results of high or low, but they won't be married together. So we won't know what that all means. So we're checking with our lawyers and with the law, and one of the things we understand right off quick, Cape Elizabeth and Yarmouth stand in a very different place, because the law was really written for places that are operating as SADs or other groups of towns. Cape Elizabeth and Yarmouth both stand in the position of being a single town district. However, at this point in time, the law is the same. Once the votes are cast tonight and counted, and I do have someone from the audience who's going to go to Cape Elizabeth High School about 8:15 to 8:30 to see if we have the results of the votes, and so we can report those. What we know at this point is this, is if we get a no vote, then what we need to understand is what does that no vote say to us? Were there people, a majority of people who are saying the budget proposal by the town council was too high, or was it too low? Based on that, then I must produce another budget to take to the town council. In talking with our lawyers yesterday and also talking with our town clerk, the ballots that are cast today will be separated. The school ballots will be in one sealed box. The ballots around Democrat and Republican, it will be in another one, and you also had a state referendum. Those will be sealed for 5 days. I cannot look at them, nor can any of you, before that 5-day period is over. So what that says is on June 17th, that I can then go to the town clerk and ask that we have the opportunity to count the ballots, to look at the no votes, and did they say it's too high or it's too low. At that point in time, it gives me the opportunity to then present another budget to the town council. You have voted for, and I will present the budget of 6% if we have reached a no vote at that point in time. It will go back to the town council. The town council has an opportunity to review that recommendation. They can certainly review it and say that that would be the next town vote if we had a no vote this time, or they could make it smaller, or they could make it larger. But they have that opportunity to make that decision. In looking at the date of the second vote, if we get a no vote today, when would that second vote be? At this point in time, there is nothing in the law that prescribes that it has to be by a certain date. However, we do know by town charter that we must set the tax rate by August 20th. Now, we do know that there is an issue with the change in the law. The change in the law tells us that prior to July 18th, if the budget does not pass, if there's a no vote, then the school budget that was presented, that 6% budget, would stand in place until a yes vote is received. After July 18th, then it would be the town council's 4.6 budget that would stand in place. Now, from the perspective of the superintendent, I need more than anything else to have the funds to pay salaries and fringe benefits until the budget is passed. So from the perspective of what we have heard from our lawyers, from the perspective of what I've heard from the town clerk, and from when I talked with Mike McGovern the other day, we will first see tonight, was it a yes or no vote? If it is a no vote, then on the 17th, we will go back and review the ballots. At that point in time, we'll see what the ballots tell us, and if they tell us that they felt it was a budget that was too low, then I will return with the budget that you people have voted for and return that to the town council where they can make the decisions on what the next level of the vote will be. And then they will set the date and time for that vote. I think one of the things that's going to be extremely important to the citizens of this town, if the vote is as large as I think it is, and if it is a no vote, it is going to be very important for the people of this town to keep track of when the ballot is cast, so that if they are going to be out of town, they have the opportunity to cast an absentee ballot. And so that's going to be a very important piece. But I think it's also extremely important for the public to understand that there are steps in this process that we have to follow. And so we'll follow them as closely and as carefully as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Karen, can you update us on the SEAF dinner and grant celebration?
Well, it took place, I think, this past Saturday night, and I think it was a huge success, and they had a very large turnout, and I think all went well. There were wonderful presentations made from several people who have received grant money over the years. And Trish, actually, were you there? Why don't you give a little, because I was away at my college reunion.
Oh,
so
I'm
I
sorry.
might let Trish fill us in a little bit on that.
And I was away too, so I
I
didn't get it.
apologize, I called on the
Better job.
wrong person.
I'll just echo what Karen said and sort of thank SEAF for sponsoring it. There were a lot of people there. I tried to get a count, but haven't had that.
And it was just really a great collaborative, cooperative effort among the schools and CEF to sort of share all of the great things that those organizations are doing.
Great.
And I want to also thank the staff members who took their time out of their personal time to be there on a Saturday evening to sort of share, express their appreciation and share with the community their grants activities.
Great, thank you very much. 8th grade land trust work, would that be Steve Conley?
So our advisories have been working in the community for the past 8 years in the spring, and around trails and so forth, and this is a write-up that Steve Price shared with me. This year, the CEMS 8th grade class worked with CE Land Trust on clearing and upgrading the entrance or trailhead to the Winnick's Wood Trail in collaboration with the town's Conservation Commission. The students and staff worked on town-owned land that is a terrific part of the Greenbelt Trail system. We moved dead brush, raked, spread topsoil and bark mulch, and even uncovered an old dug well. We even set aside a part of each work session for a short discovery nature walk to see the beaver dam and lodges that several very industrious beaver families are working on. The project took place during the week of May 19th and was done in advisee groupings each day. We were bused to the site from school and worked in 2-hour shifts. This is the 8th year that CEMS students have worked with the Land Trust and the first year that we have had a connection with the Conservation Commission. It's a very productive experience and one that has great benefits to our students and to the community. And he said it was just a great stretch of time. The weather was really good as well, not that hot stretch. So looking forward to doing it again.
Great, thank you very much, Steve, appreciate it. Alan, the Holman Fields dugout dedication?
Oh, yes, excuse me, the one I just passed you is for the next one. Let me talk about Holman Field first of all. If you've been watching Holman Field, you know there have been 2 dugouts placed there, very well done dugouts. There was supposed to be a dedication last Wednesday. Unfortunately, because of weather, sports activities were canceled. I thought it was supposed to be this Wednesday, but I guess it has happened on Thursday last week. And I don't know if any members of the board were there or not. Unfortunately, again, I was tied up in another meeting and so wasn't there, but it looks like, Trish, you may have been there.
I have no life, do I?
Thank you, though. It's very helpful.
You guys all are in glamorous places.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yes, I was there, and actually, I would like to point out that there are also 2 dugouts that were put on the softball field at Capano. So there were 4 altogether, and the group raised in a very short period of time $70,000 to put those up, and there were a lot of in-kind donations, so thank you to them for doing that. It's certainly great for our teams and sort of a safety thing, and so I think they did, in spite of the weather, the event did go off, and I think we owe them a debt of gratitude for what they've added to our program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Should I just keep calling on you, Trish?
Just pass it right over.
Molten Field sign request?
Okay, this one I do have.
Okay.
If you'll remember last year, you voted, and it went before the town council, to rename the field in front of the middle school, which used to be the high school field, as the Ray Moulton Field, and there is a plaque that has been placed there. I recently received an email, which I had to apologize to Jesse Timberlake for. Is the first email, for some reason, did not make it to the light of day, and so I talked with her again this week, and she sent on the email again, and what she is asking is permission to place a plaque at the end of the field, which she will pay for, and which basically tells them that is the entrance to the Middle and Pond Cove Schools field, which is named in memory of her brother, Jay Moulton. She says, I think it's a smallish sign that can fit in within the school sign regulations. And so I bring that to you tonight to consider. I believe it is on new business.
Well,
Did it not get there?
now that you mention it, I
No,
don't see
didn't.
it.
So we will have to move it
Should
there.
we add it to?
Yes.
9,
We do a really good job planning this
9L.
today, didn't we? Lose these things in there.
can we add it to 9L,
Yep, that'll
Molten
be fine.
Field sign?
At that time, will we just get a little bit more of an explanation? Because I have a very fuzzy idea of what we're really talking about. So would we wait until we vote on it where I can get a little more information?
Do you want to give it now so that there's time to think about it?
I think I'd ask your question, and let's see
Okay.
what we can do with
Well,
it.
I have to say, I'm just basically confused,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not picturing this very well. It says that the plaque will be at the end of the field, but then they want a sign at the entrance to the middle school and Pond Cove schools that would fit within the school sign. I just don't know what we're talking about or where we're talking about.
And has she talked with you, Jeff? I'm going to get two different Jeffs here pretty soon.
I know which one you're talking
Okay, good.
Jeff on the right.
I haven't talked to Jessie about the sign issue for several months. I think what she's, I mean, you know what, I think she's talking about just a small sign that says to Molten Field, that just has an arrow. She actually originally brought it up as, in the bigger context of we don't have signs really to any of our fields at any of our schools. And it's true, we don't, because right now, you know, we've got Holman Field, and we've got Capano Field, and we've got Molten Field, and that sort of thing. And I guess I don't think we were able to give her a lot of assurance that that was anything that we were going to be doing really quickly, but I think it's a really good idea. She's just looking for a sign so that if the athletic directions say Molten Field, people will drive into the middle school and they'll know that that's the one that's on their left as they come in. That's...
And so you do know that the field is near the middle school, even though it used to be the high school field.
I think I
Got
know
that.
where we're talking
Got that.
about.
All right.
So it's not going to be attached to a school sign?
Well, again, it's been I don't believe so. That's not what she was originally talking to me about. I think she was just talking about a small sign at the very entrance that says to Molten Field.
I share Rebecca's, I have all these questions. Where, how, is it going to interfere with the playground? Because the kids use that at recess, that whole field. Is it right on the, I think it's a great idea because it would be nice to have names on our fields. But I can't visualize where would be an appropriate place to put it.
I guess my comment would be is if we have an issue because people are having a hard time finding the fields and we need to do a better job with signage to direct people to fields, then maybe this can be something that we discuss as a board and come up with a plan if that's something that we need. And this would be one piece of the better signage for directing people to our fields.
That's fine with me. This was her request. And because of the type of input she's had in our schools in the past and the support she's given, I felt very strongly it had to be brought to you so that you understand why the request is there. I think one thing, though, that I did notice, Rebecca, I think the question was, there is a plaque, which was what she was talking in the beginning, at right on near the edge of the road, there is a brick, and it had a brick stand, and there is a plaque on that. It used to have a plaque, and we put a new one on in honor of him. And then she's looking at a sign so you can find the field.
That would make sense in terms of location, because that's at the backstop. So it's
It
not
is.
where the playground is or at the entrance.
No, it's right out
The
there.
kids walking and the lights and everything, that's where I was having a confusion. But if it's somewhere there, that would make sense. So I think,
But that's not where the entrance,
I know it doesn't jive with
doesn't
what's-
drive with what's here. We're getting two different locations. So I do not have a problem with this conceptually. I just want to have a better feel for where it's going to go, so it actually serves the purpose well. I mean,
Considering that we will not probably have another board meeting this summer, if you could give me some direction, which might be based on what I find out with information from her, so that we can make a decision of yes or no, that we can go ahead with that, that probably would be most helpful, since that field is probably used on and off all summer long.
Do you want to think about that and then tackle
vote
it under new business?
Yeah.
And then you have some time between now and then to think about it and come up with some ideas. Okay, great. Linda, can you give us the overview on the Hannaford Coaches Box naming piece?
Sure. Well, the Hannaford Field Committee got together on May 28th. There was a concept brought up up that there will be a coach's box at the top of the bleachers when they're completed. There was a unique concept brought up that instead of trying to name the box after an individual, that they wanted to call it the Legends Box. And that would be a large sign on the front of the building. And then what they thought they would do is have individual plaques memorializing people who have made significant contributions to the athletics and sports in Cape Elizabeth. There was additional discussion that there would have to be some type of procedure for nominations for these individuals and so forth. The plaques they're talking about going on the outside are just going to be simple, what's it called, plexiglass, engraved plexiglass, so that they would be hold up in all of the weather and all of that. And so, we really thought it was actually a very good concept, so that way we're not just trying to recognize an individual. And it was going to be more for not necessarily monetary contributions, it was going to be more for, people's actual participation and work in the field of the athletics for all of Cape Elizabeth. So, and we will be taking a vote on that later on tonight.
So we're taking a vote on the naming of the box,
Correct.
Legends.
Correct.
But we do have a policy for individual, we have a school board policy for individual plaques. So if somebody wishes to have a plaque put on the Legends box, do you anticipate that that will come to the school board as a request?
Actually, there was quite a bit of discussion on that, because I did bring up the fact that in naming of anything outside, we do have a policy in place where recommendations go to the school board on an affirmative vote going on to the town council for them, the final say of anything that's named outside. Their thought was that, we might have several people coming forward wanting, family members or others that named to be memorialized on the Legends box. So there was a suggestion that they would like to pass along, that there be a committee to just review any requests, any nominations for any of the legends that go there. Then at that point in time, there would be criteria set up for whoever was named to be put on the box. Then it would come to the school board for, approval or, that was the recommendations that they made from committee. There was no set procedure for this. Because they clearly decided that the Hannaford Field Committee was probably not the best group of individuals to make the nominations and approvals. So they do feel that should be a decision made by the officials of the town.
So we want to make sure that we're careful and clear about whose authority is where and who does
Right,
what.
right.
We might even want to expand our policy to encompass more, because I read
More
the policy.
details.
Right, more details, because I read the policy and it says that it comes to the school board if it's an inside the building item, and then the school board decides. If it's an outside the building item, the school board decides. If the school board gives an affirmative vote, then it goes to the town council. But we might want to add a little bit more about the procedure
Right.
versus the policy, just so that there's no misunderstandings and there's not different groups,
Right.
trying to do something and then finding out that maybe they can't and that kind of
Exactly.
thing. So maybe give
Nope,
that some
I
thought.
agree.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
So we'll have that later on
Yes, you will.
for vote. Proposal for the CEHS track and field naming. Speaking of namings, Jeff, would you like to cover this for us? Jeff on the right.
Sure, I submitted a memo to, I think, Alan Hawkins and to Mike McGovern sort of simultaneously, knowing it had to go through the board first as a proposal to name the track and field after Keith Weatherby. Keith is I think he is probably one of the most, if not the most, highly respected athletic administrator in the state for many, many accomplishments over many years. And I think I may be speaking to this again in terms of Keith Weatherby later on when you get to an acknowledgement or recognition part of him as well. But he is extremely well known. He's extremely well respected. He's been here for 21 years. The athletic program has grown exponentially under his leadership, particularly the mushroom of girls' sports. He is not perfect. But as far as I know, we don't require perfection as a requirement for naming any of our fields.
It's not in the policy.
It's not in policy. And I just think it would be a great tribute. He was a track coach for quite a few years. He won the state championship. He was an advocate for the creation of the track around the current field. I sort of laid all that out in the memo that I wrote, and I attached the various articles that appeared in local newspapers about Keith's leaving as well. And I just think it would be a very fitting tribute to a guy who's contributed many, many, many years and provided really wonderful leadership to the athletic program. And I will say, as principal, one of the things that I'm struck most about when I work with Keith is how he sees things in a bigger picture. It's not athletics at all costs. That's not the way he operates. That's not the way the program as a whole operates. So that would be my proposal.
Great, thank you, Jeff. And that's on our new business to vote on later on. Trish, community service luncheon, students recognition?
Yes, I just wanted to, well, first thank Community Services for actually doing most of the work and hosting these breakfasts and lunches with the Communications Committee of the school board. But I would hope you would agree from Community Services that I think they're great events. It's really nice to see some of the senior citizens in our community interacting with the kids, and if we didn't have the kids participating, it just wouldn't be the same. So I wanted to thank two high school students, AJ Fristaci and Hannah Towers, for coming to do a little snippet of the All-in-One Basket theater performance. I wanted to thank, and Dick Mullen for helping me out on that. I want to thank Becky Swift for coming and actually helping to serve the luncheon. I wanted to thank Lynn Spadinger and her entire second grade class for coming with Judy Ferrante's guidance, or under Judy Ferrante's guidance, in performing a wonderful song. And I'd like to thank the following sixth graders under Terry White's guidance, who came and gave sort of a mini, or exhibited what a mini music lesson was like at the middle school, and then they performed some jazz tunes. So Mackenzie Layton, Hannah Newhall, Dana Hatton, Trevor Ewald, Will Britton, Brian Nestor, Ethan DuPerry, Danny Brett, Nick Shedd, Kevin Hare, and Justin Edgar. So I hope it's a tradition that will continue.
Thank you very much. Jeff, back to the high school. Best high school list?
I think it's actually two lists, but we were sort of retroactively added to the U.S. News Best High School list, which we were excluded from, and I made a significant and I thought a brilliant presentation to the board several months ago analyzing why we might have been excluded. Turns out that was all completely wrong.
But it was brilliant at the time.
So I'm willing to admit my error. We were left off because there was a piece of data that had been, for whatever reason, not on a state website, which was basically about the percentage of kids who are eligible for free and reduced lunch population. For that particular year that U.S. News was looking at, it said not applicable. And I'm still not exactly sure what happened, but we ended up getting U.S. News the right information, and it was interesting to me that the very same week that Newsweek came out with its list of best high schools, that's when U.S. News decided to finally update its list. I've been in some correspondence with them for a few months, so we're pleased to be on it. I do think of the two lists, I think that the U.S. News one is, because of the methodology, I think it's a more interesting methodology. I'm sure the board has other things to do than to hear about that in detail, but the Newsweek one is based on a very narrow selection of data. The U.S. News one is based on a more broad-based selection of data, and that's why they're both significant in their own way. They say different things, but I think the U.S. News is in some ways a better measure. But we're glad to be on either of them. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trish, can you tell us about Carrie Curtis's engineering class project?
Yes, I can.
Because you were there.
I literally was there. It happened right down the street from my house. Actually, can I digress 1 second for another high school recognition? I didn't realize Darryl Whidden was retiring, and I attended the concert last night, and please, he did a wonderful job to the end, because the concert, I think, the choral performance was probably one of the best of the year. So kudos to him for his work and for wrapping up in a professional and very great manner. Carrie Curtis's engineering class, I think this project epitomizes sort of volunteer collaboration throughout the community. And actually, as I was sitting here listening, I think Jeff Thorak hit it on the head. A lot of what our schools do is the result of volunteers and support of the community, so I think it's just terrific. Anyway, Carrie Curtis is a science teacher at the high school, and earlier in the spring, at like 6 o'clock in the morning, there were cars lining my street, and I thought, that's odd, there's never anyone up in the, cars there. 5 o'clock at night, the same cars were there, and this went on for a week or two. So actually probably even longer. So anyway, after a little research, I found out that it was Carrie Curtis and some engineering students who built a bridge in the Robinson Woods. I'm not being as eloquent as Jeff was when he explained this project in the his graduation speech, but I probably should read what Carrie said. The bridge design for the town was an extension from bridge studies he was conducting in his class, and he contacted Maureen O'Meara and asked if there was a possibility for some work that his class could do. She put him in touch with the Conservation Commission, and they were given the task of building a footbridge that connected Stone Gate to Robinson Woods. Each student designed a bridge and presented their plans to the Conservation Commission in February and March, and a plan was accepted. We were going to go with a wood bridge until he contacted a former Cape High School alumni, Byron Tate. He is owner of Casco Bay Steel in Casco. He said he would fabricate the steel needed to build a steel frame bridge. West, O-U-E-S, am I pronouncing that properly? The town engineers, forgive me if I'm doing that and mispronouncing that, loaned us 2 engineers, Tad and Jason, to help with the design, lay the steel, survey the site, and taught some classes on the physics and math behind bridge construction. This was a collaborative effort from the get-go. So the following groups donated time or materials, which is Saco Bay Steel, West Engineering, Jordan's Farm, and Pearson's Agway, and the students who, as I mentioned, worked literally, other than taking a break to go to classes, from dawn to dusk for at least 2 weeks. Jody Odlin, Chris Bouchard, Andrew Jose, Andrew Moulton, Fritz Madrell, and Lincoln Jordan. So I think the community owes them a thank you, but I was so impressed. I think this really shows what can happen with collaboration and our kids in the community, and really making a teacher like Carrie Curtis to inspire his kids and actually make learning come alive. I just was impressed and felt fortunate that I can walk over that bridge now.
So do we understand that you were home?
I was home. I was home. Actually, actually, the police came a couple times because the school bus could not make it up through the loop, so the kids were very polite and moved the car. So it was kind of a big project, in more ways than one.
Thank you very much, Trish. Steve Conley, can you tell us about Christine Monez's acceptance? Were you expecting to? Yeah. Okay. And you can stay up also and tell us about the performance on the National World Language Test. We'll save you the trip back.
It's in here somewhere. Page in it.
Do you want mine?
If you have it right up into it. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, look,
There you go.
you get 3 of them.
Who's got the next one?
It's on there.
Okay, so first off, Christina Monez has been working, she's very involved professional development-wise, has a lot of, always is coming into me saying, hey Steve, there's this great thing going on here, what do you think if I tackle this? And so one of her latest pieces is called Linking the Ocean to the Classroom. And she applied to participate in the Educator Institute on seasons in the sea and understanding change in the Gulf of Maine through buoys, boats, and satellites. There's no acronym for that. There was no way to shorten it. And her letter came back saying that it says, "We received many well-qualified applications for the workshop, including yours, because of your dedication to education, interest in applying real-world data to traditional content topics, and enthusiasm to incorporate new ideas into the classroom. You have been selected to participate in our Linking the Ocean to the Classroom workshop being held July 7th through July 11th. This will be filled with cutting-edge applied research, useful materials, and new ideas in data integration in education." So she was particularly struck by the idea of the real-world application and the data integration that she's working very hard on in her classroom as well. Chris has, besides this event that she's going to be working with, she's also doing some curriculum work at the school this summer with me, and she's taking a graduate level course, and she has another grant application that she has written, and I think she just told me she received that as well. So somewhere in there, I think she's going to try to attend a little beach function as well. But anyways, so that's great that Chris is so involved, and she's very collaborative too, brings all of that material back to us to share with her colleagues. On a different note, the American Association of Teachers of French, I promised Conrad I would not try to read this in French. So the letter is to Conrad Berthiaume. It says, "I'm writing to congratulate you on the performance of your students in the recent National French Contest sponsored by the American Association of Teachers of French. You may be interested that this year we had almost 101,000 students enrolled in the Concours National. This represents a continual increase in the numbers. Thanks to your instruction and guidance, 8 of your students finished in the top 10% of the participants. You and your colleagues deserve a great deal of credit for helping to maintain French as a strong partner in your school's curriculum." And they go on to thank the teachers and encourage them to continue their work.
Thank you.
That was on the French one you just said.
Sorry. Tom, can we ask you to come up and tell us about the elementary playground outdoor classroom?
Alan, I just wanted to update you on the progress for the playground project that started probably 10 years ago when, through a joint town and school partnership, we completely replaced the Ponco playground, built a new one in the middle school, and eventually got one at Fort Williams. At that time, there was a plan, just on paper, to have an alternative to a traditional playground in the lower part of the Ponco playground. And with the construction of the kindergarten a few years ago, it kind of brought things to a neat division. Lisa Gent and Suzanne McGinn have been the prime movers behind this, and Alan and I met with them recently. Over the years, they've gotten input from teachers and students. Last year, you saw the alternative one, which Natureland, the kids call it. But there was also interest expressed by the teachers and kids, again, to do more outdoor learning. This is the No Child Left Inside plan we have. They have now, by working with local architects and landscapers, they're just about ready to go to the planning board with the plans for an outdoor classroom, which would, I don't know if you've seen the plans before, but I can pass them down to you. Since it is outdoors, it's an open structure which will allow seating for at least one classroom at a time, and the way it's envisioned, it can be used year-round. Everybody's totally behind it, and as they go through the legal structure, I think they hope to get it underway maybe late this summer, Alan?
That's what they said,
have it in
yes.
place next fall. It's a great project, and I thank both of them, or the hundreds of people who have worked on this over the past 10 years.
I cannot believe it's been 10 years that shape
I think so.
structure was
You
in
were
the
helping
original
take force
plan.
for it,
I was
right.
in that, involved in it. I
Yeah.
can't believe it's great that Lisa in particular has stayed.
She's kept
with
the
it. She was
vision,
one of the
yeah.
original people. That's terrific.
Besides this big project, there are the raised garden beds, which teachers have been using, and any day now there'll be a water fountain on the lower playground.
Oh, wow.
They also talked about something for butterflies the other day,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah,
see them get more and more excited.
They've kept the vision going, and I might have to retain a couple of their kids to keep them involved in the project. I'm working on that. Any questions?
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Tom. Okay, next I'd like to thank the middle school and high school student representatives that we had this year. First of all, from the middle school, we had Piper Audubine, Michaela Ford, Chris Spark, Luke Sisselman, Hannah Deneen, and Jake Wasserman. So we'd like to thank those folks for coming and reporting to us at what was happening in the middle school and putting up with our long meetings and so forth, but they've done a wonderful job and they've kept us well informed. And then I'd also like to thank the high school representatives, Kirsten Brown and Hudson Eakin. They are not here this evening because they graduated on Sunday. So they did a great job. It was the first year that we had high school reps, and they sat with us and did some work for us, and it was a learning experience, and we have 2 more folks we'll have for next year. So we're looking forward to that, and maybe we will continue to ratchet it up and find some more things that we can communicate on. But Kirsten and Hudson plowed it along started it all up for us, so that was good. And they were very tolerant of, as we went along, and what are we doing, and how do we do this, and what should you do, and that type of thing. So that's not easy to do. So thank you very much for all those folks. Next, I'd like to go to the employees' years of service recognition, and I have a list. If you would indulge me, I will read it. The following staff members are recognized for their years of service to the students and educational community of Cape Elizabeth. 5 years, Ann Almendinger, Pond Cove Middle School kitchen staff; Jennifer Coswell, Middle School Ed Tech 2; Catherine Clow, Middle School Ed Tech 3; Michael Efron, high school teacher; Martha Heatley, Pond Cove Middle School kitchen staff; Frank Laverrier, custodian; Karen Lamb, high school teacher; Kristen Lewis, Pond Cove Middle School kitchen staff; Leanne Layton, Pond Cove Middle School kitchen manager; Melissa Morang, Middle School Ed Tech 2; Julie Nickerson, Pond Cove teacher; Mary Poker Page, high school teacher; David Raymond, custodian; Barbara Smith, bus driver; and Sharon Thompson, Pond Cove Middle School kitchen staff. 10 years of service is Karen Abbott, Pond Cove teacher; Janet Amberger, Pond Cove teacher; Conrad Berfume, middle school teacher; Catherine Cornell, Pond Cove teacher; Sonia Donovan, high school guidance; Amy Kieran, Pond Cove teacher; Stephen LaRose, bus driver; Linda Paul, Pond Cove teacher; Trina Richards, Pond Cove Ed Tech 2; Catherine Tebow, middle school guidance; and Christine Tweedy, Pond Cove teacher. For 15 years, Fred Berenger, custodian; Mary Dulac, Pond Cove teacher; Therese Roberts, middle school teacher; Wendy Terrio, middle school Ed Tech 2. 20 years, Sharon Gower, Pond Cove Ed Tech 1; Barbara McLean, Pond Cove secretary; Margaret Welch, middle school teacher. 25 years, Randy Dill, custodian; David Perry, high school teacher; Ray Michaud, bus driver. And for 40 years, Janice Small, Pond Cove teacher. Next, I'd like to do the retirees recognition. And starting with Pond Cove, Tom, would you come up and talk to us about Marie Hayes?
First, I'd just like to point out, Alan handed me a certificate of recognition for Marie. Marie has declined a gift and instead has asked that any money for a gift be given to the Special Olympics, which is a good introduction to the way Marie has been at Pond Cove. Well, so my words are tinged with regret, but it is a great pleasure to say just a few words about Marie Hayes and what she's meant to Pond Cove for 33 years. That's typically the number we use for a whole generation. During that time, Marie has been a mother of 4 kids who have gone through Pond Cove in the middle school and high school, and now she has a grandchild at Pond Cove. Sometimes when you listen, when classroom teachers retire, we try to do the arithmetic and multiply by 20 or 25 and calculate how many kids and how many lives they've touched over the years. As Pond Cove's one and only art teacher for 33 years, Marie has seen every student in grades 1 through 4, either once a week or every 6 days, getting a new crop of kids of 130 about every year. When you multiply that out, that is a whole community, and most of them, I think, are still in the area. Marie's focus has always been on children and how she can help them use art to express themselves and learn about the world around them. She never calls attention to herself, but she's always a prime mover behind the scenes when we have school-wide events or when Allied Arts works with teachers. And it's not just inside the school building. I was just talking about the playground. Another project I neglected to mention was the sundial, which Carrie Curtis helped do. The tiles were, well, Marie had the idea, but the kids made the tiles for the sundial, which is a nice legacy for her there. I've also known Marie as a leadership colleague because of her periodic membership as a team leader at Pond Cove. It's probably because of her experience working with kids from K through 4, but Marie always contributed wise and thoughtful counsel to our decision making. If we didn't hear from her right away in any decision, one of us, I have to admit it was usually me, would always wait a little while and say, "So Marie, what do you think?" And then we'd always listen carefully. As for her retirement, our loss is tempered by the fact that she has great plans. Marie and I are tennis parents, not players, and we're big fans. She tells me, and I hope she's not trying to rub it in, that she and her husband Waldo are going to possibly set their retirement travel schedules around Grand Slam events, and I can't think of a better way to go off than doing that. Though I could go on, Marie has asked me to be brief, and I will, but I would like to read a poem which I think summarizes what she's meant to the kids at Pond Cove. It's called "The Thing You Must Remember" by Maggie Anderson. The thing you must remember is how, as a child, you worked hours in the art room, the teacher's hands over yours, molding the little clay dog. You must remember how nothing mattered but the imagined dog's fur, the shape of his ears and his paws. The gray clay felt dangerous. Your small hands were pressing what you couldn't say with your limited words. When the dog's back stiffened, then cracked to white shards in the kiln, you learned how the beautiful suffers from too much attention, how clumsy a single vision can grow, and fragile with trying too hard. The thing you must remember is the art teacher's capable hands, large, rough and grainy, over yours, holding on. I want to leave you with that image, and not just Marie's hands, but her great heart. So, Marie, if you're watching, I hope you are, we'll miss you, but we always say this, I will see you in the morning. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve, can you come up and tell us about Mary Smaha?
Had I known you were going to read a poem, okay.
You don't have a poem?
Well, maybe. Okay, roses are red. No. Okay, so.
No. We can't do those poems.
Oh boy. Is this mic on? Yes. Okay. So Mary Smaha began her teaching career at Cape Elizabeth Middle School in 1989. At that time, she served as an Educational Technician 3 in special education, and she found a real passion in working with students for whom the average daily workings of school can be somewhat complex, and she really took it as a personal challenge to help them figure out ways to cope and to work through adversity. Shortly after her stint as an Educational Technician 3, she was hired as a teacher for what was then known as the Instructional Support Program. Mary became the face of the ISP. Mary's passion for helping these students persevere academically came through time and again. As a longtime member of the Student Assistance Team, Mary always worked with her colleagues to find the best way to reach her students. Last year, Mary also taught regular education language arts. English was her major in college and was one of her first loves in teaching. At the end of the school year last year, Mary had a series. She had one knee replaced, and then she had the other knee replaced. And the prognosis at the time, she got the word, she said, "Steve, if I take June, July, August, 3 months, I'll be all set." I said, "Sure, Mary, that sounds kind of tight." She said, "No, I've been assured this is going to work out." So by August, she was calling me saying, "Well, I'm not out of bed yet, so this is going to be a little bit longer than we thought." So at that point, she decided that it was, as usual, it would be in the best interest of her students. That's how she made her decisions, that she retire so that her students would not face any educational disruption due to hiring of long-term substitutes and her coming and going in the classroom, seeing how things went. So that's just another characteristic piece of Mary.
Thank you very much. Jeff, I don't see Keith here, but would you come and tell us about Keith?
Our baseball team is in a playoff in Lisbon, so Keith is not able to be here. He's at that game. I think the first thing I want to say about Keith is that my entire work with him has been in his role as athletic director, which he's been doing for the last 21 years. But before that, he was a teacher, full-time teacher for 20 years, and my understanding is a very, very good one. He was a very popular physics teacher, and I understand quite a rigorous physics teacher, but had a reputation for making the subject quite fun. And he still enjoys very much getting invitations, particularly from Michael Efron, to come in and do some guest lectures, and the kids get a kick out of seeing the person that they think of strictly as athletic director teaching as well. So those were basically the first 20 years when he was exclusively that, and I believe then he was a part-time athletic director and part-time teacher as well, so his teaching career extended beyond that. He has been the last 21 years in what I think is probably, special ed director is close to it, but probably the hardest, most thankless job, I think, in school administration, which is athletic director, because everybody has an opinion about athletics. Everybody has kids directly involved. The competitions are done in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. So it makes for attention. People care about a lot. He is very highly respected in the state. I can tell you, before my biggest memory of Keith is actually before I actually got here, because I had known the name Keith because I've lived in town for quite a few years. I knew there was Keith Weatherby, the athletic director, but then when I was the principal at Morse High School, Brian Hatch, the athletic director at Morse High School, kept talking about this guy who was touring the state, who was pushing every athletic conference in the state to go towards open playoff system, which was a significant change to the main principal association approach. And the guy who was doing that was Keith, and largely that attempt to broaden the opportunities to make playoffs more available to more kids was largely a result of his advocacy for years and years, and it was largely sold on the respect that people had for him. The MPA has come back a little bit from that, but they are still much more open in terms of the playoffs than they ever have been than before Keith started pushing that as a major move. He has overseen the great expansion of the sports system, particularly girls' sports in the Cape school system. He is down to earth. I could make fun about the number of times I hear him look at people and wag his finger and say, "You people, you people, you people," at various athletic meetings and some other things. But there are just some wonderful, wonderful Weatherbyisms that I'm sure he's going to be roasted for over the next week or two, as he has to endure various testaments. I'm sure he's probably glad to not be here tonight in some ways, because I don't think he really would like that sort of publicity and that sort of thing. But he's contributed an awful lot to the school system, and I think above all, what I will remember him for is the humanity that it really brought to the athletic program. It was very much, I think, seeing athletics in a greater context and sort of the role that it plays and when people can get over the top about it.
Thank you very much. I'm sure it's hard to sort of summarize such a long career in a short period of time, but thank you, Jeff. Okay. Sue, will you join me at the podium? I was the elected, and I did not get the memo about the Hawaiian shirt night, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
But tonight, we are saying goodbye to Sue, who's retiring as Community Services Director, which is very hard to do. I'd like to share with everyone an article that was in the Century, which did a nice job, if that's all right with you?
Sure.
Okay. This appeared in the Century, and it starts out, "The time feels right, and I believe community services is in a good place," she said. Sue Weatherby became the Community Services Director in 1986 after serving as an assistant director for 5 years. The program is a division of the school department and offers educational, cultural, recreational, and social enrichment opportunities. It's grown about 5 times over, Sue Weatherby said, of the program. Adding daily traffic through the Ocean House Road building typically exceeds 300 people a day. Back in the early stages, community services had a budget of $250,000, and now we're over the $1 million mark. We are about the only 90% self-sustaining department in the town. The programs basically pay for themselves, and some of the administrative costs of the building are subsidized by tax dollars. Before the town converted the Pond Cove Millwork property to a community center in 2001, the program was relocated 6 different times throughout the schools, Sue Weatherby said. She said the creation of the center is one of the projects she is proud to have facilitated during her 28-year tenure. Sue Weatherby said she also considers the Pond Cove Elementary School renovation, the community pool renovation, and the restructuring of the transportation and custodial departments important accomplishments in her career with the program. "I think the community services is probably just about as big as it can get with the percent of the population that we are already involved with," she said. "The population in Cape isn't changing, and I think we're sort of at a point where our program group has sort of peaked." Sue Weatherby said the goal is to maintain the level of services residents have come to expect. "We have a very supportive citizen group," she said. "They have high expectations, and they support all of the community assets that this community has built, and they utilize the services." Sue Weatherby, who was a field hockey and tennis coach at Cape Elizabeth, plans to have an active retirement. She said she might return to officiating field hockey, which she did for more than 30 years, and plans to become affiliated with a golf course, possibly working there part-time. "I would say I'm okay," she said, with her golf skills. "I'm an avid golfer." Sue Weatherby said she is also looking forward to spending more time with her family, which includes three children and 7 grandchildren. So anyway, we are here to say thank you so much for all your service. There's just no way to say thank you enough for everything you've done. And really appreciate it. We're going to miss you a lot. Okay. So
Thank you.
thank you
very much.
And we have a gift for you, too.
Thank you.
And we'd love it. You can open it, you can keep it, do whatever you want, and we'd like to hear what you have.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank all the other retirees for coming tonight and sharing the podium with me.
It's a large group.
It's a large group. Doing what you love and loving what you do pretty much sums up my 28 years. It's been a great ride. I think I'm ready to get off the train. But I think Mary Bruns probably said it the best when we had her retirement reception, and she said when she got up in the morning, there was no place she'd rather be than working for, and also living in the town of Cape Elizabeth. So it has been a great ride, and I do look forward to this next phase of my life. I'm hoping my golf game will improve, and I have a number of chores that I will be taking over at my home, so that I'm very busy. One of them is mowing the lawn, and I went out and bought myself a lawnmower, and I've mowed it 3 times, and I was exhausted. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I will keep busy, and there's nothing like working in Cape Elizabeth. The support you get from your fellow administrators, the support you get from the citizens in Cape Elizabeth is outstanding, and Jeff said it. I mean, community services can't run the magnitude of programs that we run without the support of not only partaking in our activities, but volunteering their expertise and time on behalf of Cape Elizabeth, and there's just no place like it.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Could I just say a few words before we go on to the next one? This is the end of my third year here, so I haven't been here for a long time. But I need to say to you right up front, I didn't speak tonight about Sue because I know I'm going to get a chance later on. So, but what I do want to say is, Sue probably is one of the people, along with Keith, who I most recognize as the strength that they bring to Cape Elizabeth schools. A few months ago, I was sweating bullets because I didn't know where we were going to go as they each, with a smile on their face, told me they were going to be retiring. I know the basis of what Sue has given to this town through community services, and it is amazing. I think probably the thing that defines it the best for me is if you've been in my office, there's a place where all kinds of notebooks, and there is one notebook that it carries the lifeblood of what community services is all about. Because Sue, being the organized person that she is, who carries thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of facts in her head, took the time to put that together so that we would know what the community services does, what the purpose is, how we manage it, etc. And so, although I'll get a chance to speak longer about her later on, I just want to say this, is that Sue, along with Keith, will be missed in this community. And I'm sure Jeff was sitting there, who's known Keith for a long time, and I'm sure Janet was sitting there thinking, okay, where do we go next? But they both guaranteed me that we'll move ahead in very colorful ways. So I just wanted to say a few words about Sue and to thank her for everything she's done. She, as a new superintendent coming in, was a breath of fresh air because I always knew I could go to her and get straight answers about what's going on, good, bad, or otherwise. So thank you, Sue. And Sue, would you be willing to say a few words about Margaret Fogg as she retires, either you or Janet? Janet, this is your second chance to speak without planning. We'll do a third one, and then you'll be all set.
You could get used to this, Janet.
Just to give you a little bit of history of how we organize community services, Janet acts as the administrator of the extended school care program. And she basically has been responsible for setting the policies and procedures, hiring the staff, evaluating the staff, overseeing the staff. So I'm going to sort of defer to her to speak on Peggy's behalf. But before I do that, I need to give a lot of credit to Janet for the operations manual. I agree, all of it was in my head. But I'm not as good as putting it on paper as she is. And I would dictate stuff, and she would put it down. So certainly she deserves a lot of the credit on that operation manual.
So Janet, tomorrow morning I'll put your name on the book, okay?
So
Until July 1st.
they keep saying I am still in charge. I'm trying hard not to be. So why don't you speak on behalf of Peggy, since you have been so instrumental in overseeing that program?
Peggy Fogg has been with our extended school care program for the last 25 years in various ways. She helped to start the program from the Latchkey program. It was as a directive from the school board way back when we first opened the doors for extended school care. At that point, it started in the home ec room at the high school as just a couple of hours after school, when the school board recognized that children opening the doors from the school bus at home and having no one be there was not in the town's best interest. And so Peggy left private daycare to come and meet the need of the community in the public sector. And if any of you know Peggy, her heart is much larger than her small frame, and she loves these children to death. And she is one that we will miss tremendously from what she offers to children in our community, and has offered children for years and years and years. Peggy, unfortunately, right now is out on sick leave because she had surgery, but we look forward to celebrating her time with us next Monday, the 16th, and encourage anyone who can to stop by the community center between 4 and 6, and she will kill me when she finds out that we're doing this, because she doesn't know yet.
She does now.
Well, no, she lives in Standish, thank
good.
God.
Okay.
So, just to say thank you for all the years of dedication and service, and all of her love and attention and everything that she has given to community services and to the children in our community. So we do thank Peggy for everything that she has done.
Thank you very much, Janet and Sue. Okay.
You may want to mention there are gifts to the others.
Oh, yeah, there are gifts for the other retirees that we will make sure that they get through their various schools, so. Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report. I guess I'm going to go first on the superintendent's report. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the class of 2008. The graduation was Sunday at 2 o'clock at the fort. It was very hot. It was even hotter wearing little black gowns, and but it went very well. Jeff had it orchestrated to the T. It was a very nice graduation. There were some beautiful things said, some lovely speeches. We actually had a tiny bit of a cool breeze that would come up from the ocean every now and then when you thought it was a little bit too much. We had a few people that had some heat problems, but we got past that. And I just want to congratulate the class of 2008 because they did a wonderful job, and I know they had a good time that night. And Jeff and Troy looked fairly tired yesterday morning, having spent all night up with them, going on their trip. So anyway, just want to congratulate them. Alan?
And I would like to do the same. It's, although this is the end of my third year here, this is my fourth graduation, because I got invited here for the graduation as I was being hired. Fortunately, all 4 years, we have been able to be on the field and not in the gym. So I hope that remains as a record as long as I'm here, so that we don't have to go to the gym. But I would say that Jeff prepares this graduation program to the nth degree. And when I say the nth degree, at 3:32, the graduation ended. And he had made sure that everyone was honored in the way they should be honored. It was a wonderful day. There were some students who were a little leery about graduation, who made it through very well, and I'm very proud of every single one of them and what they've gone through. And Jeff, in his very careful way, made note of several different incidents and situations that he did in a very, very positive way, and I truly appreciate it. And Jeff, I don't know if you have just a few words you'd like to say about it as well. One of the things I get a kick out of Jeff with is he always has a notebook with everybody's speech in it, and he follows it to the nth degree. So, good, bad, or otherwise.
Including the cross-out pieces that managed to be
Yes,
said anyway.
I won't comment on those, but no, it went well. We were lucky again with the weather. It was hot. I have to say that when I was reading the diploma names, I didn't realize that one of our graduates was a victim of heat exhaustion as well. So by the time I got to his name, he was, I think, in an ambulance, and somebody had to turn to me and say, he's the victim. But he was fine. He joined us at project graduation at the Comedy Connection and had a good time and was well welcomed by his students. And if people remember nothing else about the 2008 high school graduation, they will remember that David Moore had problems with the heat at the graduation that day. But it was a good time, and project graduation was actually a lot of fun. It was a good group of kids, and it was a perfect, really, really, really well-organized event with absolutely no problems whatsoever with any of the kids. It was all positive, and I think a great way to end. So I enjoyed it.
Well, you and Troy definitely need kudos for being so organized, going through the whole graduation, basically getting an hour and a half off, and hopping on buses and spending all night with the kids till the following morning. So really nice of you to do that. Alan, do you want to tell us about the curriculum management plan in the English language arts, or?
Yes, I have some people here who can answer questions, but if you remember at the last workshop, get ready.
Yeah, Janet?
You remember at your last workshop that Sarah and a group of people presented two pieces of the puzzle to you. One is the curriculum management plan, and the second one was the program that is in final process. And I look at Jamie when I say that, and Becky to be sure I'm saying that correctly. But what we brought them to you for is so that you could see them, get a sense of understanding. I did not expect you to walk out of there understanding them completely, any more than anyone else does. But what I would say to you very clearly is, you remember I had to leave that night because I had to monitor a town council meeting. But I heard afterwards that the people who presented in a way that made the information at least very clear to you. I'm very clear that this coming year, we will not probably have a curriculum director who has been hired separately to do this work, so that I know that my job will now become superintendent curriculum director, but I have some amazing people who have worked on this and have agreed to continue to work on it and put a smile on their face every time they say that, so I truly appreciate it. So there is a chance below here for you to take a vote, but I just want to be sure if there are any questions you have. Again, I don't think you want to go into the minute questions that may come with it, but if you have questions about either of those programs, knowing that the management program is how we will oversee curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and how we will manage the program so that we are absolutely sure that it is a spiraling program from K through 12, that therefore looks at 12 and manages its way back through. And we have, right now, the English Language Arts program that has done both the templates of curriculum, but has also got their management plan K through 12. It's hanging on my bulletin board in my office so you can see it and get some idea of where things are at that point in time. So that is important for you to understand. It's also important for you to understand that math, science, social studies, and foreign language will be the next ones that will be put in place to become, again, that spiraling program spirals up to meet the needs as we spiral back to make sure we're doing that. So with that quick overview, what I would do is ask if you have any questions. I noticed that Kathy is about to say something about the vote, and so I will back off on that and see where we are if you want to. But I think first, if you do have any questions, if you could answer those.
We have that up to be voted on tonight because they need the school board's approval to move forward with both of them. So I assume, because Jamie's here, we might be able to.
Also, we both had Linda.
I'm sorry.
And Becky worked on pieces to that.
I'm sorry, I was looking, I saw you, but I didn't think through, I'm sorry. Anyway, so if there's questions, now would be the time. If not, maybe we could move the vote up so that we can take a vote on that if anybody, does anybody have a problem if I move that vote up? Okay. So, moving down to 9D, a consideration to accept the current concept of the curriculum management and the English Language Arts Plan. Does somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trish. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Discussion? Questions?
I have just a question.
Yes.
At the workshop, I just noticed on one of the forms that there was no place for staff to indicate what any sort of potential financial repercussions would be. And so I'm just hoping that if we approve that some of the suggestions that we made that night will be made.
And Linda, you probably have you had some discussions about that at all yet?
No, we haven't had, we just had a curriculum meeting that we had to do now, but no, we haven't had any discussions, and I haven't seen a entirely possible.
Okay.
Any other, Trish? Yeah.
I don't know whether this is a question or comment or whatever, and we're looking at this in concept. The plan is so comprehensive and specific in terms of layers of how to go about things. Are you feeling also that it's fluid? For example, I know there are a couple positions, I forget, like a facility, certain facilitator, how you're going to identify those, and is it fluid enough that, this is probably a very poor analogy, but the local assessment system from the state of Maine was so comprehensive and so cumbersome that it tied us up instead of doing anything. My question is we're approving the concept tonight. Will there be checks as time goes on, particularly because there may, we hope, but there may not be a curriculum director to say, the concept we agree with, but this part of it isn't working, or it's too cumbersome, or we can't respond quickly, and then, I mean, in a kid's life, a whole year is a lot. They're only in third grade once, so they're only in sixth grade once. So are there plans? We didn't really talk about that. We sort of touched on implementation in some of the questions at the tail end, but there was so much information you presented. I guess that's a question, comment. I'm not really sure what it is.
Linda, could I get you to go up there so that they can hear you? I know you really want to do that. Janet will help you write your
Janet
speech
will
as you
help
go
you.
out.
She has your speech already done.
All right, let's see if I can remember what you just said. Yes, embedded in the plan, there is the provisions that every decision that will be made will be first looked upon in the way of data. What do we have? Are the kids struggling? If they are struggling with a certain piece, what have we done to try to help them along with that? So all of that information comes before the curriculum committee anyway. So the procedure for the way we handle curriculum isn't changing drastically at first. What it really is a plan to make sure that what we have written is what we're teaching, and what we're teaching is being assessed, and then using that assessment to help guide tweaking and using that information to help with further developing curriculum as we go. And our total intention was, after this first year, when September begins, and we use the English language arts piece that I think you'll approve in September, the goals, to help go through the curriculum management plan and work out any bugs, what's working well, what isn't working well. And then I believe embedded in the plan is every third year a check on not only the plan but on curriculum, and so that it's not static, that the document isn't static, that it's always ongoing and always changing. And as needs change, as mandates come and go, that it's flexible enough to work well for our system. I think somebody said it best at the workshop, so that it outlasts all of us and helps to strengthen the system.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda. That was a very good explanation. I appreciate that. An excellent one.
Even without Janet's help.
I know she was waiting in the wings. Anybody else?
The only thing that I would say to go along with what Linda was saying is I look at this as what is the magic of curriculum. And for too many years, and this is not just about Cape Elizabeth, this is about teaching in general, the curriculum and the way it was taught was generally a classroom decision, and what you did and how you did it. We all know that if we truly want to be absolutely sure that all students are receiving equal opportunities to learn, then we must be doing approximately the same thing in every classroom. I use the parallel of the teaching is a science, the act is an art. And so if you know the science of what you're doing, take a third grade. If every teacher in third grade knows the science of what they're doing, the art that they hold inside of them gets the curriculum across. So it may be done differently, but the bottom line is met. And therefore we can assess it based on the expectations, the scientific expectations, through the artistry to see what actually happened. And that's what I see with this whole plan. And I will say it very honestly, this is my 40th year in education, and it's the first time in 40 years where I have seen a school system take a hold of this idea and really begin to develop it. And that's why, as Linda will tell you, because she's heard me speak about it many times, as have others here, that is why, as superintendent of schools, it would be very easy to step back and say, well, I don't have a curriculum director anymore, so we can't do this. I do not believe that, because my number one job is to ensure that young people get the best education they can. And I think this is the way it's going to happen. And the CIA, the curriculum, instruction, and assessment plan will become the center of everything we do in Cape Elizabeth as far as educating young people.
I just want to add that the plan that you see here, even though it is flexible and will likely change, was the culmination of a year's intensive work after we looked at many, many models that work. And prior to that year's intensive work, it really started in 2001, 2002, when we identified as a district that one of the things we really desperately needed was the written curriculum and then the plan to monitor it. So this has been a long time in coming, and I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it, right?
Thank you very much.
Oh, another question?
No question.
Oh, okay.
No question. You can. But I did make a comment at the workshop, which wasn't broadcast, so I think I'd like to take the opportunity to say it again, that I've had the privilege of sitting with the curriculum instruction and assessment
Very good.
team, or as I like to call it, the CIA team. It's an amazing group of people, incredible amount of work went into this. I mean, it was truly, I could see the passion and the intellect that went into it, and I'm just so pleased that we came out of it with a concrete plan. So I can only imagine, if I'm this thrilled, how thrilled the teachers must be to see something come to fruition after having spent so many months, days, weeks, hours on this project, and I look forward to seeing it go even further. So thank you to everybody who was on that committee and who will be helping on the committee in the future.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anybody else? You ready to vote? All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Great.
And thank you to the three of you who came tonight. I asked them to come help if they had questions I couldn't answer, so.
Yes, thank you very much.
And there is refreshments afterwards, so.
Yes, please stay if you'd like.
Or just take them in.
Hey, cut that out. Alan, I'd like to move up also 9E, consideration to compile the CEHS alumni data, because I know that Peter Carey is here, and I don't want him to have to stay for any longer than he has to. So I'd like to ask the board to consider a voting for the consideration to compile the CEHS alumni data to develop a directory, and we'd be doing that in conjunction with CEF.
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Well, you say it so well.
Yeah, okay. Is there a second? Trish? Discussion, questions? And Peter's here if there is any questions, additional questions. I know we talked about it last time, so I wanted to give you folks a chance to think about it. No? Okay. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you, and thank you, Peter, for all the work you did on that. Appreciate it.
We'll talk.
You can stay for refreshments, too, if you'd like. Okay, going back to unfinished business. Trish, policies for second reading?
Yes. None of these policies had any comments from the board, but I will go through them quickly. IHOA, actually from the first reading to the second, there was one change at the suggestion of Sue Weatherby, actually, who Community Services does review and is involved in transportation safety, obviously. On page 4, in the second paragraph, we have added the term providing evidence of a current driver's license in good standing, and that's related to student travel and drivers of private vehicles. no other changes, the policy committee is recommending that no other changes have been made, so I would like to move that the board approve policy IHOA and its accompanying guidelines as presented tonight.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Additional questions? No? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
IKF, which is graduation requirements, if you recall, this was changed. It shifted some of the credit requirements for graduation because of the decrease for budgetary reasons, primarily in technology offerings at the high school. There have been no changes, and there were no comments at the first reading, so I'd like to move that we approve policy IKF, graduation requirements, as presented.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
Policy JIC, which is a system-wide student code of conduct. This was, the change that was presented included a paragraph on bullying, which was required by law. That was the only change primarily from our existing policy. It was reviewed, however, for instructional support issues. There were no comments at the first reading, so I'd like to move that we approve policy JIC as presented.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
Policy JFCA, which was formerly our policy JFCIAA, so it's different coding. Student support teams. This, as it was presented at first reading, there were no comments. This, if you recall, was rewritten based on MSMA input as well as DOM, instructional support, with input from him. So I would like to propose that we, or move that we approve the policy JFCA, student support teams, as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Trish and Linda. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
And as JFCA in its new form replaces policy JFCIAA and its accompanying guidelines, I would like to move that we delete policy JFCIAA.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Questions, discussions? I have a question. Do we no longer have a guideline for JFCA?
I do not believe so, because all the information should be, should be included. The student support teams, it's specified in the policy.
Okay. So, because I'm looking, it wasn't really a guideline either.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
didn't really
was kind of a
support
short,
it, right.
a little thing. Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. Anybody else? All in favor? 5-0. Great. New business. Hello, Alan. Consideration of request for one-year leave of absence.
Yes. I have a request for a one-year leave of absence by Susan Dees. Susan is expecting a child in October of 2008. After a lot of consideration, she's decided that it would be best situation for her family if she could take a leave of absence from the school year 2008-2009 and return to Cape Elizabeth Middle School in September 2009. I would say to you, before you even take a vote, is that we have taken a look at that very carefully. We have some excellent candidates, and we have an excellent candidate as a possibility for here to fill that one-year position. Obviously, we need to be sure we can go ahead with that move.
Thank you, Alan. Is there a motion to accept the request for a one-year leave of absence?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Trish. Discussion?
The person that you're looking at putting in this position, would that be a long-term subtype position or a shifting of personnel?
Because it's a one-year position. It's somebody we'll hire into the system, but it'll be a one-year position unless something else opens up at that point in time.
Okay.
Yep. It isn't, I think I'm understanding your question.
Yeah, I just wanna know-
There's nobody that's in the system at this point. We had an ad out because we had several openings there, and so it's somebody who would come into the system, but would have just a one-year contract.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a long-term sub position. It would be a full-time teacher.
Yep.
Okay.
Other questions? All in favor?
Bless you.
5-0.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Trish, consideration of policies for first reading.
Yes, as this is first reading, I'll quickly go through them. Policy JFABB, Foreign Exchange Student Program. The only change to that is in legal requirements in terms of visa and travel information. JID, Students of Legal Age. The change to that, this is based on Drummond and Woodsum recommendation. We eliminated the third paragraph. JIH, questioning and searches of students and student locker storage facilities. This is a new policy. Well, JIH, I should say JIHA, we currently have a policy which deals with student locker storage facility and searches thereof. If I skip a little bit or digress, we're recommending that that is deleted because this new JIH will replace it. This particular policy is more, it allows for searches throughout the school and also would allow for canine patrols. So that's the difference in that one. And JJI, and the administrative guidelines that accompany JIH. And the last one for first reading is JJIBB, which is sportsmanship. The extracurricular committee reviewed this and brought it to policy. Policy committee reviewed it and would like to set it forth for first reading. This is one of a group of policies that MSMA encouraged school districts to adopt, actually back in the fall. So sort of tied into some of the sports done right philosophies. So we presenting it for first reading. Any questions, comments? The policy committee meeting is meeting on Friday, so share them if there are none right now. Or anyone have any comments or questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Rebecca, consideration to increase the hot lunch fees to $2.85 for students and $4 for adults.
The Finance Committee met at the end of May, and we were reviewing the lunch program, the food services program. And as we have mentioned in our previous reports to the school board, we are in the red on the school lunch. And so Sue King did a study on how much our lunches cost, and we were made quickly aware of the fact that we are not charging enough to cover our costs, even with federal reimbursements. So after a long discussion, the committee agreed to recommend to the board that we increase the price to $2.85 for student lunches and $4 for adults, with the understanding that there would be some federal reimbursement monies that would be added to the $2.85, which we're hoping will cover the costs of lunches. We did discuss about going to 3, but we were afraid that it might have an impact on the number of lunches sold. And when we are trying to endeavor to increase the number of students that buy lunch, we just thought that perhaps it wouldn't be a good solution. So we're kind of taking a middle step with the understanding that we may have to raise it again, another substantial amount next year in case we still underestimated. But we did vote to send it to the board at this amount.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do you want to make a motion?
So, yes. I probably should have put that after.
It's all right.
So I'd like to move that the school board approve an increase in hot lunch fees to $2.85 for students and $4 for adults.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trish? Discussion? Questions?
Go ahead. I just would like to make the comment that I'm comfortable with the price increase of $2.85 for students and $4 for adults. But I do want to point out that we are in the process of revamping sort of how we do the food at all the different levels. And it's my opinion that it's very important that we look very closely at what the students are getting for $2.85, and food that's being offered, and flow through the cafeteria and everything else, that those pieces of the puzzle go in place. And I think if we do what we plan to do right and well, that we should be able to achieve a break-even point at a minimum for the $2.85. So I just hope that that we follow through with that part of it, so that the kids are getting nutritious meals at a reasonable price, and we are breaking even as a district.
Linda?
Just kind of wanted to ask if Sue had any comment, because we have had quite a lot of changes in the offerings this past year. How has that been taken? I'm kind of wondering if did the number of school lunches go down dramatically, and this is why we're finding ourselves again in the red at the end of the year? Is it due to waste? You know, the type of food we're serving, the amount of food we're purchasing compared to what we're serving. You know, you said that Sue had done a survey. I was just wondering if I could get kind of a feel.
Can I answer that now?
Yes.
I think it's a combination of a whole bunch of things. I don't think it's one single factor. Sales of lunches did go down a little bit, but they kind of rebounded again with some of the changes that are being made. I think there's some new enthusiasm and excitement around the school lunch program. But we also experienced a substantial increase in cost to the lunch program via labor and also just the commodities that we were buying. And the increase that we got this year from the state did not come close to covering it. So we're hoping that with the changes that Sue is making with the help of the Wellness Committee, along with our increase in pricing, that we can hopefully kind of find an equilibrium to address some of these issues.
Well, thank you. No, I just wanted to get some direction as to...
It's a little bit of everything, as life usually is.
Thank you.
I do think to add to that, and Rebecca's absolutely right, but I do think we should add to that there has been a change in the view of some of the students. We have high school students who are extremely excited about the changes, have gotten a grant to buy new equipment, and are working on that piece. You've added salad bars at the middle school in Pond Cove, so we're adding things, just like Rebecca said, that are making a difference. Unfortunately, as she pointed out, that difference is slow. We have to work our way through the process, but we're hoping that change will come.
Good. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All in favor of the hot lunch change? 5-0. Okay. Consideration of recommendation by the Hannaford Field Committee regarding the naming of the coaches' box at Hannaford Field. And I should add to be the Legends box. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, after my introduction earlier, I would like to move that the school board approve the recommendation of the Hannaford Field Committee to name the coaches' box at Hannaford Field the Legends box. The concept entails a sign placed on the front of the structure with the title and would incorporate individual plaques to be placed on the outside walls of the structure, memorializing individuals who have made significant contributions to the Cape Elizabeth athletic programs.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trish? Questions? I have one. The motion is incorporating the individual plaques, and I'm wondering if we're going too far, if we should just be talking about approving it being called the Legends box, and then dealing with the individual plaque things at a later time as they come up. And because I know we can't approve something carte blanche, you know, because then we've left it open that who's making the decision about the individuals and so forth. I'm just kind of wondering about that.
That's kind of why I worded it, the concept of having the individual plaques.
I'm sorry, I missed the
Yep.
concept.
I was very
You
careful
were
in my
careful,
wording on
and
that
I
one.
was trying to listen and do something at the same time.
Nope, no, it's basically, it is for the sign of the legend, to have the sign up there as the legend and the concept
Okay,
of the individual plaques.
thank you. Yeah.
Following up on Kathy's point, if we approve the concept, is it our responsibility then to, or do we give it to the extracurricular? Because, like in a worst-case scenario, I'm envisioning someone likes pink and someone likes blue, and the different plaques all over where they're placed.
They're talking about clear plexiglass, so that there is not going to be any difference in color.
So it'll just eventually, though, 50 years from now, the whole box could be plexiglass plaques.
Theoretically.
And I know that's theoretically, if we approve the concept and I don't have a problem with it, then what is the next step? Is it our responsibility to
Well-
go to extracurricular? I don't know.
I think it is, I think it's pretty clear. We have a policy that's in place for any outside plaques goes to the school board and then eventually to the town council. I don't see that this is an exception.
They had actually recommended that there be another small committee formed just to address who gets a plaque and who does not.
But
And
see,
the
that's,
recommendation would be forwarded to the school board at that point.
but see, that's where we get back into the
Right.
who's doing what, because the Hannaford Field Committee is not authorized to form a subcommittee
Right.
to decide who's getting plaques, or even to recommend who's getting plaques.
Right.
If somebody wants to do a plaque, it needs to come to the school board, or the school board can say it could go to extracurricular first, and then to the school board, or the school board could say, we want a subcommittee, which I'm sure all of us
Right.
want to be on, but,
And that's kind of why I left that, I didn't incorporate that in the motion, because the actual motion is only for approval of the title, the Legends box, and the concept of the plaques.
So we can,
It was because the rest of, there's just too much around
I just
the
want to make...
individual plaque.
I think it's up to the board how we want to see the
Right.
process happening. And I
Right.
see this
Right.
as almost something we could discuss at
Right.
the beginning of the year when we talk about committees.
Right.
And I think that there's extracurricular committee could be the vehicle for it. I don't see that as being a big issue.
I think, though, that we want to be clear that the Hannaford Field Committee, if they want to form a subcommittee, they have a certain charge. This is not their charge.
No, as a matter of fact, they don't want the responsibility for that. They were all in favor of passing it on to the powers to be.
Here you
I think
go.
it's something- Yeah.
There you go.
I think, I have to say, I like the idea a lot. I really think it's a very creative answer to the use of that space and to open it up to recognizing other contributions besides just financial. And so I think it's I like the idea.
Anybody else?
Is the part you're struggling with the addition of the,
Yes.
and approving the concept?
Yes.
Is there any reason why we can't go ahead and approve the, Part A of that, and then approve the concept part of it later on, once we've had an opportunity to work through it a little bit more?
I would be more comfortable, because I don't see any reason to approve the concept. I think we send a message that is ambiguous out there. And so if we approve the idea of the Legends box, then if somebody wants to put a plaque, then they can go through the regular routine and ask. But I don't know, I'm struggling with, why do we need to approve the concept? Because I always worry about, we approved a concept, and what are we saying, and there's not a directive, and it's not clear, and we're not sure where it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just...
I don't feel very strong. I'm just thinking kind of devil's advocate thing. If we don't agree with the concept, we could be faced with somebody who wants to put a big old honking sign up there instead of the plaques. So,
But that wouldn't happen until they came to us.
Yes, that's right.
Right,
They'd have to
right.
come to us, and we would turn that down, I presume, but...
But I think as a board, we do need to agree on what the concept will be, so there's some very clear guidelines to whichever committee makes this decision, makes the recommendations to the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know.
And I do agree that the policy that we have in place is a little ambiguous and does not provide for a lot of detail as far as procedure goes, and I think we've...
Yeah, I think that we might want to have that policy, maybe
Reviewed.
extracurricular could review it first, or policy could review, I'm getting the look. Okay, so, but I think that the policy's a little bit loose, and some committee should take a look at it.
Sometimes loose policies are by design.
I realize that. No, and I'm not one of those people that necessarily wants, but I...
Kathy, you asking the policy committee to look at the name, the
Well, I
plaque
was
or
going to
naming
ask
rights?
extracurricular, but I got the look from the extracurricular chair, so you seem to be more receptive to this.
We'll take a look at it.
I'm failing here miserably, aren't I? Thank you, Linda. You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions or bizarre comments?
I'm just going to check to see, do I have this right now with the
I
changes?
have it typed.
Oh, you,
She has it typed out.
oh, you do?
I-
Oh, you'll give it to me after?
I certainly will.
Thank you so much.
So are you amending your motion?
Yeah, you're gonna...
Would you prefer to exclude the plaques and just incorporate the naming?
I'm just wondering if they aren't inextricably linked, because if they don't want it, the legends implies there's more than one. And if they don't, we don't
Exactly.
like that concept, then they could come back and say, well, then, okay, we want to name it after so-and-so. So
Can we just add to the motion something like implementation of
Or to incorporate individual plaques?
will be reliant on
With-
recommendations from the policy committee on, no, okay,
No.
people are shooting.
So, Trish, I'm trying to understand where you were going with that thought.
I was sharing your concern originally, that's why but then I'm thinking, the legends implies there's more than one. Technically, they could, if we say, if we're not approving the concept of the more than one plaques to be named, then it's not, then it's sort of a rejection of the whole legends concept.
Okay.
Then they could come back and say, okay, if you don't like that, then we're going to name it after, I don't know,
XYZ.
XYZ
Right.
person.
Right.
I hear you. Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
good with that.
you know,
Good, I
that was
understand.
kind of the whole concept. I mean, you know, this is just the concept they were talking about with what they were talking about. That doesn't necessarily, and that's why the motion didn't give details as far as the specific materials or size or
Right.
anything like that, because they were, the Hannaford Field Committee came up with some suggestions, but
I think Linda's given an indication that they really have no desire to move forward on their own.
oh, no, they don't.
And I see this more as an internal school board issue in terms of getting our policy up for review fairly quickly before we actually have
Right.
people coming for recommendations.
Right.
That would be, yeah.
It was mainly to name it the Legends Box and to use it as a way of recognizing individuals who've made significant contributions.
Thank you. I appreciate you getting me through that little hump that I seem to be stuck on. Okay, anything else? No? All in favor? 5-0. Okay. Consideration to name the Cape Elizabeth High School track and field after Keith Weatherby. Is there a motion?
I move that the school board approve the naming of the Cape Elizabeth High School's track and field after Keith R. Weatherby.
Second.
Is that second?
Was that you,
Was that
Linda?
Linda?
Linda, okay. Thank you. Rebecca and Linda. Discussion?
I'd just like to comment that I was a graduate of Cape Elizabeth High School when Keith was a teacher here. I never had the pleasure of having him as a teacher. However, he's been part of the school system for as long as I can remember, and I can't think of any more appropriate way of memorializing him forever, because I'm sure he will still come back and tell us what we're doing wrong on occasion. In a very nice way. But I can't think of a better way to memorialize all the contributions he's made to this town, as well as the school department, all the athletes and all the students here at Cape Elizabeth.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? I'll just add that I'm embarrassed to say that I dropped his physics class my senior year. I decided I wanted to attend the university, and I didn't need the class, so... But he was a wonderful teacher, even though I didn't have him. And it's wonderful to have something that's, forever memorabilia. So thank you, Jeff, for making that recommendation. Really appreciate what you wrote out, so. Anybody else? All in favor? 6-0, and now, Alan, that will need to be forwarded to the town council.
5-0.
Did you say?
5-0, thank you. I didn't count, sorry.
No, who would move
It's been 5-0 all night, I seem to add,
No, it was 5-0.
added another person, sorry.
Since you're on that topic.
Oh, yes, okay. Since we're talking about fields, Alan, do you want to move to the Molten Field sign before we move back to the teacher and co-curricular athletic piece? Okay, so this would be for the approval of the Molten Field directional sign, is that what I understand?
Yes,
That you talked about earlier?
yes.
Is there a motion to approve the sign as requested that Alan passed out in the email?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second? Thank you, Rebecca. Discussion.
I hate to bring it up, but I do feel if we have a signage issue that we need to do a better job directing people to the fields, that we should have some consistency in what we're doing and having, some sort of uniformity, how things look and where they're placed and what makes the most sense, and whether or not it's for the Molten Field or the Hannaford Field or the
Keith Weatherby Field.
or the Keith Weatherby Field. I would like it to, I think it'd be nice if we don't approach it piecemeal, but I don't know exactly who we send that to, who'd be the right group to oversee that, but I guess I don't see the point in just doing an isolated case of it. But I think it's a wonderful idea, but I'd like to extend it, the same courtesy to all the playing fields for those people, especially who are driving from away and trying to figure out where they need to go. So,
It's a really good point. I agree with you, because, when I've gone to see games at other schools, I'll drive into the school and there'll be a sign saying this field or that field, and I know which field I'm looking for. Otherwise, I'd be stopping and asking somebody, and it would be awkward. So I'm not sure how we move that forward if we...
We could probably just amend the motion to say, to be implemented within a overall district plan for athletic field signage.
Alan, you want to pipe in on this?
I have no problem with that. This is a single request that I have received for someone who is willing to pay for it. I think if you want to set up a plan to oversee this, then I think we've got to set up a committee to do that. I think what I heard from you in the beginning was, if we take just this field, you want to be sure it doesn't interrupt any means of getting on the field. It's not in the way. It's not a place where people would get hurt. So I think you have the issue of this one, where the family has agreed to do it. If you want to look at a bigger piece to the puzzle, then I think what you need to do is you need to set up a committee to make that plan and to get it going. Because I don't want to get stalled on the plan so that we can move ahead. So what I was hoping you would be able to do is give me the guidance to say this is what you want to see happen, which I would think would also play in your bigger plan about how you want it to be done, so that we can make some move with this one, since that field is a very active field. But if you prefer to wait, I need to know that vote so I can get a hold of Mr. Moulton's sister to let her know where we are at this point in time.
well, I personally would prefer to wait, but not to discount this wonderful idea. But I think, and I'd be more than willing to help serve on that committee to make sure. I know they've done an excellent job, and Steve is no longer here, but clearer signage in the middle school, and I think our fields probably could use clearer signage. And I think probably Jeff would appreciate that for people coming, to visit and find the schools. I know it was very hard for people to find the goal crest when that sign was down for a period of time, and you can get lost pretty easily around there. So I'd rather do it right, or do it well the first time, instead of doing it piecemeal. So that's my opinion.
I hate to be the person bringing up any potentially bad comments here, but is there any issues as far as any town ordinances, or anything like that is concerned as far as signage, especially if it's going to be street side, where it's on the outside of a facility located on town property?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there are.
The town does have a very strict sign ordinance, as I think most of us who've run for school board know.
Even when the buses come back from Chewonki, we had to get those signs approved, and they could not be up for more than 24 hours.
But we're talking a permanent structure here.
I know.
Not.
Your point is well taken.
And after listening about quite a lengthy discussion about another permanent structure that was put up with approval and now is being moved, I just want to make sure that we're not making a promise. I'm all in favor of this idea. I do believe that all of our fields need to be, I'm not against the idea whatsoever, but at the same time, I don't want to make a promise to somebody that we can't keep because it conflicts with some type of town ordinance.
Well, I think, we're not saying no to the sign. I think we're all recognizing that they have actually pointed out something that's a larger issue than just that one field. And so we are in agreement with their request, but we realize that it's actually a larger issue, and we probably should need to address it as a whole. And so it will get done. It just may not get done as quickly as it was originally planned, which is often the case.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm wondering too, if, as Karen mentioned, a small committee to work on implementing the bigger picture, maybe Ms. Timberlake would be interested in serving on that committee, because she's the one that's made the generous offer. And I worry about potentially looking like we're turning down an offer, which we really are not doing. We're just not jumping on it tonight. So I'm just wondering if maybe that's the way we want to go.
And I think the other piece you'll have to look at with your offer is, if you make a plan, how are you going to deal with people who are willing to donate it, as opposed to a school system who may have to raise the money to do it?
Right.
Which I think is probably not a wise move at this point in time. So I think what you can do is what Rebecca said. You could approve it from the perspective of, we would like to see it happen, but there are signage issues and town policy issues that we must review first, and we'll have a committee to do that and take a look at it. But then as that committee will also have to make some recommendations about where the money comes from.
So then should we see about amending that motion? Linda?
Did he write that down?
Well, what I've got
You
here
made the motion, so.
is approval for Molten Field directional signs to be implemented. And then what I've added to it, but we must first review the signage planning and the town policies before we can actually implement a plan to make that happen. It's kind of where I went with it.
So when you're talking about signage planning, are you talking about the committee piece?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is sort of a signage plan for the overall,
Fields?
athletic fields. I mean, I just want to make sure that to me, it's still very specific about one field. And what I was recommending is that we try to have uniformity for all of the fields.
And I saw it for all fields, so if you want me to add a word or two, I can do that. But I saw it as, we have to look at them all to make that decision.
Maybe you could put signage planning for all fields, just so it's incorporating what Karen was looking at.
Yep.
So Linda, would you be,
I'd like to amend my motion per the verbiage that Alan just provided.
great. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. See, I'm back to knowing how to count. Okay, thank you, Trish, for bringing us to that one. Okay, back to superintendent's nomination of new teachers for 2008 and 9.
Okay, I have a fairly long list of those people, and I do have one to add to it, but this is the work the administrators have been doing to fill positions that were positions already in the school system where people have left, and to cover those, with the exception of this first one, which is the Pond Cove K through 4 resource room person. And this is the one, if you remember, is badly needed because of the changes that are taking place in that program. So I'll go through these individually because you do have to vote for them individually so that I can issue contracts accordingly. So the first one is from Dominic DePatsy. This is for Sarah, and unfortunately he's not here, and I think he said, pronounce her last name as Truhl, Sarah Truhl. Sarah has graduated from the University of Maine with a master's degree in special education. She has been a special education teacher K through 8 at Great Salt Bay Community School in Damariscotta, which I know quite well, and I know that she was seen, from my perspective, as an excellent teacher up there. And so what we're looking for is her to come in to manage the K through 4 resource room. And as you'll note in Dom's notes, he says, I feel Sarah will be able to bring excellent skills and interventions to the new Pond Cove resource room. She will be able to provide excellent reading, writing, and math instruction in order for students with special needs to close the learning gap.
Thank you, Alan. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the superintendent's nomination for the hiring of Sarah Truhl.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
The next one is from Jeff Shedd, and this is for a physical education teacher at the high school, replacing the high school teacher who is leaving. This is Sarah Beckel.
I'm sorry, Buckle.
Okay. We'll check with her later. She was one of several candidates that Jeff and his committee looked at. She came out as by far the strongest candidate, has strong background at Poland Regional High School, including teaching wellness for grades 9 through 12.
Highlighted.
And I figured you probably had that in orange and yellow, so be sure we noted that. But Jeff has told me she is an excellent candidate for the position.
Thank you, Alan. Is there a motion for Sarah Beckel?
So moved.
Thank you, Trish. Is there?
Second.
I'm sorry. Linda? Okay. Discussion?
Quick question. Alan, these are existing positions, so are you extending contracts to these teachers? I'm asking the question vis-à-vis when we approved the returning teachers, the teachers who were returning for a second year, but you weren't able to give contracts to them until the budget settled? Did we do that at the last month's meeting?
Yes, I've held those because I didn't know where we would have to make cuts. So these right here, right now, I am moving forward because it is a position we need to fill. The ones that were the probationary teachers, the
Right, that's what I'm sorry.
old probationary teachers,
Yes.
the ones who've been here for a while, I am holding those until we make these final decisions.
But those are existing positions as well.
They're existing positions, but some of those positions are positions we might have to cut if we take a bigger cut in staff.
Okay,
Is the way I'm looking at it right
okay,
now.
thank you. I
But
just,
these are not positions like that?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for asking that question. So these positions here that you're asking to approve tonight are
Yes.
people that you want to extend contracts to now,
Yes,
no matter what the budget is? Okay.
unless we, no, I won't say that.
No, don't go there. Okay. Other questions? No? All in favor? 5-0.
Okay?
Yep.
We have a habit of hiring Sarahs. So this time we have another Sarah. Sarah Bowman, who will become the social studies teacher taking Carrie Panovich's place. She has a BA from Dartmouth, has been an 8th grade social studies teacher at Mount Ararat High School, and has some very strong experience with civic learning and engagement theory.
Well, is there a motion?
We approve the hiring of Sarah Bowman as the social studies teacher.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there a second?
second.
Trish? Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
The next person we have is Elizabeth McGovern. She has been recommended by Steve as a grade 5 language arts and social studies teacher who is replacing Cheryl Higgins, who you just got the resignation from. She has some very strong background as well and has been interviewed not only by the committee but also by her fellow teacher, Adam Killip, in order to begin to make plans for the work they do together on the team. And as they said, she was one of the top 5 teachers that they were able to interview.
Great. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Karen.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion?
I'm going to ask my question a little bit differently. One of the teachers was Adam, that we're not giving a contract to, and this is going to be his teaching partner. Is that because he teaches math and science and is not certified to teach the language arts? Thank you.
Other questions? All in favor? 5-0. Okay,
Leslie Thorpe, who is grade 6, 1 year only, language arts and social studies position. This is to take Susan Deeves' place, the one we just talked about. As you can see, I'm trying to move on these quickly so we can get these filled before these candidates disappear on us. She's a graduate of Boston College, has been at Palermo Consolidated Schools in Palermo, Maine, also at Newtonville, Mass., and Brookline, Mass.
okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Linda, thank you. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
Next one I have is Diane Baker, who is a grade 7 and 8.8 language arts and social studies teacher. If you remember correctly, Paul Casey is going to have time. Originally, we were going to put this position in another place, but after the schedule was developed at the middle school, it was seen that we really need this person as a .8 language arts and social studies teacher to complete the teaching plan for that grade level. So Diane's resume is on the back. She has a master's in education from the University of Orono. She has been at Cumberland as a grade 8 language arts teacher, and prior to that was a long-term sub in Cumberland.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trish. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
The next one is Carrie Newton, who many of you know, has been at the middle school for the last couple of years. She's been on a 1-year contract each year. She is the candidate who is being hired to take Mary Smaha's place in the language arts program.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion?
So if Carrie's doing this, is she vacating position? She is. She's teaching now.
Yeah.
So who's,
She's teaching in Mary Smaha's place right now.
oh, you're just
long-term sub.
formalizing this. Okay.
Mary left in February, and
Left in the fall.
her paperwork, her final date was February. Yeah.
But she
And
was
so Carrie stepped in for her. So Carrie had stepped in beforehand.
in the
but
fall.
then became,
Yeah.
But then became a teaching, a full-term sub for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
Did you vote on that?
Oh, yeah, not yet.
Oh, okay.
All in favor? 5-0.
The next one is also middle school, and this is a foreign language teacher, and this is Marcia Chase. She has just finished, she has been in an extended teacher education program, which I've commented on before. It's an extremely valuable program. She is a world language long-term substitute at Cape Elizabeth Middle School, and now will be filling a position of someone who has left, who is. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trish. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
And the last one I have, I'm just passing to you now, this came from Dawn also. This is her instructional choices support teacher at the high school. This is Jessica Jane Means. She has a Bachelor of Humanities in Writing and Literature. Her experience has been in Portland Public Schools, where she's an Ed Tech 3. She has developed very strong skills in providing academic and behavioral support and composite classrooms for students with EBD. Her responsibilities included planning and implementing individual programs, etc. Dom interviewed her as one of several, feels very strongly that she is coming in with a very strong behavioral background, and therefore will be an important addition to the high school staff.
Thank you, Ellen. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trish. Discussion?
Is this a new position?
Yes.
And that's in the budget?
I'm taking half.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
There's a half-time resource room teacher. Rob Thompson has moved over to regular ed, so there's a half-time position there, and I have a half-time ed tech position, and there's like $5,000 or $6,000 that I'm making up within the budget. So it's there. There's 7 students that we've earmarked for the program. Right now they're in resource rooms, just like the other 2 choices programs. Some of these students have been working with their parents, and they were looking for outside placements, so we decided that we needed to really kind of move to create the programming. So we're going to do the programming and make it inclusive and have the functional life skills program and the choices program work together. So.
And if
Yep.
I may ask, because he wasn't here before when the first recommendation came up.
Yep.
On Cove 1, could you explain?
That was in the budget.
For resource room as well?
Yeah, that was in the budget. That was the first one. That was the added. Caseloads right now are 29 and 27. So we decided to add that one position at Pond Cove to reduce the caseload so they can actually teach, smaller caseloads. So that's what we decided.
Any other questions at all? All in favor? 5-0. Okay.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, you still have 2 positions to fill, and you'll be getting me that paperwork soon. And Dom is fairly sure he has a position to fill at the high school in the very near future, possibly. Yes. And the EdTech integrator, which was Holly Smevog, we are just about to start advertising for.
Okay. Great. Then moving along to the superintendent's recommendation to co-curricular fee positions for 2008-2009.
Okay, and the first one you have is from Tom Eismeyer. Those positions are Linda Paul for K-team, kindergarten team leader, Julie Nickerson for grade 1 team leader, Judy Ferranti for allied arts team leader, Lynn Spadinger for grade 2, Mary Dulac for grade 3, Christine Tweedy for grade 4, and Susie Safer for the IST.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for co-curricular fee positions for 2008-2009.
At Pond Cove.
At Pond Cove.
Second.
Put them all in.
There you go.
Sorry about that. Just waited.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Linda. Discussion?
I was just curious about the rate or the stipends.
Okay, they aren't here, I'm sorry. These aren't here. We'll have to get those off the contract. They're set by the teacher contract.
Okay. All in favor? 5-0. Okay.
The second sheet is Cape Elizabeth Middle School co-curricular assignments for 2009. They are Becky Bean, chorus 5 through 6, Becky Bean, chorus 7 through 8, Brian Ficera, chess club, dramas to be announced, Terry White is instrumental music 5 through 8, Gary Reckett, math club 5 through 8, Brian Frigero, math club 7 through 8, Charlie Carroll and Kathy Walsh, outdoor experience, Margaret Welch, speech 5 through 6, student council Joe Doan, and someone to be announced for 5 through 8, and yearbook to be announced. And then on the back, you have team leaders of Kathy Welch, Charlie Carroll, Deb Casey, Chris Moniz, Anne Marie Dion, Andy Strout, and Cheryl Joyce. You also have SST Coordinator Kim Sturgeon and team members Melissa Sullivan, Julie Salikas, Cheryl Joyce, Sally Conley, Allison Caruso, and Allison Hawks.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved. Can I do that?
Yes?
Go ahead.
There really was no motion.
There was no motion. Then I would like to make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendations to the co-curricular fee positions for Cape Elizabeth Middle School.
Thank you, Karen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trish. Discussion, questions? All in favor? 5-0. Moving along.
That's all I have for co-curricular.
Okay, you want to move on to extracurricular?
First one I have is from Scott Labby for the middle school. I also note again that he didn't put the rate in here, so that needs to be sent on to you, but they are Diane Nicholson, 8th grade field hockey, Megan Greenlaw, 8th grade girls soccer, Ben Dyer, 7th grade boys soccer, Paul Casey, middle school boys cross country, Marguerite Lawler Roner for middle school girls cross country, and Mark Ash for 8th grade boys soccer. And you also have added to this a brief statement about Marguerite, since this is her first year doing this for the middle school.
Thank you, Alan. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the recommendations for extracurricular positions as recommended by the superintendent.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Questions?
I would just like to,
I know what.
I would like to make a comment on this, that, where we have had discussions as far as the middle school athletic programs being shared with community services, the responsibility for the coaches will stay with the school department, and the coaching staff will be paid out of the school budget.
And I have a question. The rate's not on there. Would I assume that it would be the same number of hours and the same rate per the teacher contract?
Yes, and that's why it just dawned on me why it's not there is because of where we are with negotiations. So it isn't the most recent one. But yes, it would be the same number of hours, and that would be more based on the contract.
Okay. Thank you. Trish?
So we're retaining the hiring of the coaches. Does that mean that we retain evaluations as well?
Correct.
Of them? And
Correct.
I'm
They
assuming that,
belong to us.
Yes.
and
They
I'm
report
assuming they're
to us.
being done.
Right. They're being hired.
I say that, yes.
They will be hired, evaluated, and reviewed by the middle school athletic.
And so I'm assuming if Scott's recommending them, that all of these coaches have been evaluated.
I'm assuming that you're correct.
I think it would be
only-
helpful,
assuming.
I don't know, I would like to
I'm
ask,
looking
I don't know,
for
maybe
Steve.
that's a question for Jeff Thorak as our new athletic director, but we approve these, and I think that's important that the coaches are evaluated and that periodically we
I agree.
review that they're, confirm that they're being done, and that someone, whoever is appropriate in terms of confidentiality and personnel issues, confirms and periodically does a little audit that those are being done.
I agree.
Other questions, comments? All in favor? 5-0. Yeah, I can still count.
I think it's
Okay. Alan, athletic fee position?
At the high school.
Yes.
I have Marianne Doss, girls cross country, David Weatherby, boys cross country, Darcy Holland, varsity girls field hockey, Leslie Young, JV girls field hockey, Aaron Filio, varsity football, Ron Kiersted, football assistant, Art Jones, football assistant. I noticed as I go down here, you'll notice on the side, like for instance, Art Jones is paid for by the boosters. Foy Mayer, football assistant, is a volunteer. Ryan Piper is a football assistant volunteer. Jason Allen is a football assistant volunteer. You have Greg Sandel for varsity golf, Ben Raymond, boys varsity soccer, Gary Newell, JV boys soccer assistant coach, Don Burke, JV boys soccer, David Croft, freshman boys soccer, Rob Thompson, girls volleyball, and I obviously have two candidates who have not been located at this point.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the recommendation for high school extracurricular positions as recommended by the superintendent.
Used for athletic key position?
Extracurricular includes
Same thing,
athletic.
yep. I'm just reading off my list. Thank you, Rebecca.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion?
Actually, I do have a question for you. There were, as part of this year's proposed budget, there were the addition of, I thought there was 3 coaching positions, and I am only seeing that only 1 is listed here as a new position.
Were they all for fall positions?
Oh, that could be.
I would
Thank
assume
you.
not, so. You know at least one was
I
winter.
just remember that there were 3 different ones, and that could very well be the case. Thank you.
I think that 2 got eliminated from 6 to 4 points.
That may be true. I know there's some eliminations.
Okay. Other questions?
No, thank you.
All in favor? 5-0. Do you have any other, Sal?
I hope not.
Good, because I've lost track now. All right, then, moving on to consideration to grant the superintendent authority to hire over the summer.
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion? Discussion? All in favor? 5-0. All right, let's see. Committee reports. If I've missed something, let me know, because I've got writing all over the place here. Does anybody want to say anything in particular about their committees? Rebecca?
I do. So in addition to the discussion around the amount to be charged for lunch, Sue is also looking at the possibility of utilizing a lunch credit card program, and is going to be reporting back to the committee about the cost and benefits to such an idea. I believe that Yarmouth
Yes.
uses a system like this, and one of the hopes is that such a system would take the burden of floating money to parents on a monthly basis for lunch programs would be reduced by a credit card program. I can't really tell you a lot more than that because we don't really have too much more information, but it's just another indication of the seriousness with which the Finance Committee and Sue King are taking in terms of the profitability issues, financial issues of the lunch services program. And I'm looking at something that's very wrong. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Right. And then I just would like to say that the Communications Committee met, and we reviewed the goals and objectives for the committee, and everyone was basically very supportive of what they were. There were some minor changes. I sent them out to the board, but a couple of things that came up that involve the superintendent and the board that I just thought I would share with you. One of which is there was an expression of a desire of maybe having the superintendent try again, coming into the buildings informally to be available to talk with staff. We know that you tried it earlier in the year, that perhaps turnout wasn't consistently substantial, and then other things kind of probably got in the way, but we would encourage you to maybe think about doing that again. And the other thing for the board, it was the idea of having 2 very informal coffees in the buildings during the academic year next year. It would just be kind of like what we had last spring when we had the fruit and whatever out in the lobby area, except for much more reduced in scope and size, but we would just kind of be there as board members with coffee and maybe a little bit of a healthy snack for the staff, and just to say hi and maybe have conversations if people were interested. So we're particularly enthusiastic about those 2 ideas, and I encourage you to look at the minutes.
So if you schedule these, you'll let the board know this is when they are and would you come?
Yeah, well, we're going to be, yeah, definitely. I mean, we won't schedule them without getting okay from the board about when would work best, but we're thinking maybe once in the first half of the year and then the second one the second half of the year.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
And Kathy, I just wanted to comment briefly that the Wellness Committee has had a very productive year, and we have our work cut out for us this summer, especially the high school Wellness Committee that's formed, which is a combination of teachers and students and community members, and hopefully we'll see a wonderful transformation of the high school cafeteria over the course of the summer. So hopefully we'll also have a little grand opening of sorts right before the start of the school year. And I would encourage everyone to check out the minutes on the town website to see some of the wonderful work that has taken place by so many people who have volunteered their time very generously. And I also want to give a brief update on Sports Done Right, because I haven't done that in a while, and since it's not an official school committee, we don't really take minutes or post things on the website. But I wanted to first of all comment that the high school and middle school students have taken the Sports Done Right survey, thanks to Jeff Shedd and Steve Connolly allowing that to happen. And Cade Blackburn, who's on the leadership team, is going to be compiling the results and getting back to us the feedback from the students in both levels, which hopefully we'll learn a lot from. And the parent survey is now up on our town website. We'll hopefully get enough of a response to gather statistically significant data from this. Community Services will be conducting a survey at the for the youth programs. We finally completed or created a Sports Done Right brochure, thanks to the help of Sue Weatherby and Colleen Tainter, and they've been handed out a lot of the spring sporting events to increase awareness, and I think pretty much we received a very positive response to those. We do have a new athletic director, which I don't need to go into in detail because we've already talked about him a lot, but he embraces the Sports Done Right philosophy, and I'm definitely all of us are looking forward to working with him and having him become part of the Sports Done Right leadership team. And we're planning to hold a barbecue in late August. My understanding is that Doug Worthley is the leader of the barbecue club at the high school, and so he's got barbecue team. So I've been in contact with him, and hopefully we'll do sort of a nice kickoff where we'll talk about the survey results and meet the new athletic director, invite the coaches, and then all the members of the leadership team to sort of chart our course for next year. And Sue and I just met today to begin pulling together the documents or evidence for our Sports Done Right accreditation folder, and our goal is to get our accreditation by the end of this upcoming school year. And I think that that's achievable. And we also hope to invite a motivating speaker this fall to discuss a topic, sports topic, and with the parents and larger community. And that's it. So
Karen,
hopefully
can
you'll
I
be
make
here.
a request?
Sure.
I actually was thinking about that survey. It kind of popped in my head randomly somewhere, someplace. And I realized I have no idea how to get to that website. I remember seeing it somewhere and being thoroughly confused by the address. So I don't know if you can maybe put that up on the website and maybe get it out in some of the newsletters, because I'm not sure a lot of people are aware that it's out there.
I think we ran an ad, not an ad, but we sort of wrote a brief article with the address, the web address in the Cape Courier. But one of the things that I didn't read here was that, we might need to try a different approach to get more of a response. So I'm aware that we need to.
You may want to put a link on the website,
Yes.
because I remember it's a very convoluted address, and it just doesn't stick in the brain.
No, that's
So
good.
if we
Thank
can go to the town website and just click on it, I think you'll get a better response.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. So that's it.
It also can be advertised as a parent beginning of the school year athletic meetings.
Yeah.
Make them aware of it, that we've done seasonally.
Great.
And actually, I do want to say one last thing. I want to thank all of the people in our community who, not just the teachers and school board members and stuff who've attended these meetings, but there have been a lot of community volunteers that have given a lot of their time, and we've been able to accomplish a lot. So it's been a very, I think, rewarding experience for us, and hopefully, Sue, you've been pleased with the progress we've made.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else?
Yeah, the extracurricular committee got together tonight, right before this meeting, because we were trying to take advantage of our new staff members, of Janet and Jeff. And I want to thank them for accommodating our meeting this evening. Topic of discussion tonight was the middle school athletics program. Thanks to some of our retiring members, Sue and Keith, we were able to put together a pretty good idea of what's going to happen as far as the fee structure, that type of thing. Steve Connolly was there tonight to also add some very good comments as far as trying to get the word out and getting the right message out to the parents. Get some basic information down. Sue and Janet and Steve are all going to work. We're going to make Sue work right up to the last day she leaves, of course. But they're going to work very closely so that hopefully by the end of this school year, there will be information going out to the parents of all the middle school students so that they'll start getting the message as far as how the program is going to work, what the costs are going to be involved, and what's going to be included in the fee for playing the different athletics. So I can't thank all of these folks enough for all of the efforts they put forth to try and get this all together. Janet and Jeff are going to be able to take it by the reins, and this will kind of be their first test to see how it goes, but both of them have a pretty good handle, I think, on what direction they'd like to see the program go. So it was really nice to have them there tonight.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? No. Okay. Moving on, public comment on agenda items. I don't see anyone from the public wanting to make comments. School board agenda requests. No? Okay. Announcement of upcoming meetings. The meetings are on our website.
I just want to check on,
Yes.
if anyone picked up this agenda, the policy committee has been changed to Friday, June 13th at noon, not June 12th. I'm assuming Andrea updated that, but I just thought I'd let you know.
And that's at noon in the Jordan Conference Room, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?